What's up, guys? Today's podcast, as always, is brought to you by BUSR Sportsbook. Bet on everything from horse racing to the NFL. Visit busr.com/going for two to sign up, get a welcome bonus, and bet on this weekend's games. Guys, we have a great show tonight. We changed the format a little bit tonight. We're not going to preview all the games this weekend. We're going to just preview the ones that have some good storylines, and we're going to look at some of the rookies from this year as well and see how they're doing so far, and if we still like the guys that we did, before the season started. So hang tight, guys, and we'll get right to it.
Fantasy football, you dealing with the best. Keep it hype, authentic, this ain't nothing like the rest. With the Armchair Fantasy Show podcast, give advice for all the listeners to improve your stats. Yeah, we live on goingfor2.com. Tuesdays and Fridays, this is what you want. Talking dynasties and daily drafts, and we just getting started, that ain't even the half. Yeah, so go ahead, tell your friends to join. Going for two, cause no one remembers the extra point. Hey, goingfor2.com, the Armchair Fantasy Show.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 178 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are live every Wednesday and Friday night on Periscope, Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch. Syndicated on all major podcast networks, and of course, streaming Going for Two app for iOS and Android. I'm here as always with my co-host. You can follow him on Twitter at Foss534, Mr. Ryan Searfoss. Ryan, how you doing tonight, man?
Good, man. Ready to preview week 9 here. And glad to have Angelo on.
Yes, sir. And as you mentioned, Angelo from AngeloAnalyst.com. You could follow him on Twitter at Angelo_fantasy. He was actually on during my quarantine show. I got a funny story about that. But Angelo, man, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be back.
Yes, sir. So real quick, for those of y'all for those that don't know you, give us a real quick rundown. Like, what is AngeloAnalyst.com? What is it you do? I know your Twitter account's very active with some breakdowns and such. Go ahead and give us sort of a brief overview of what you do.
For sure. So for me personally, I work in like human performance and biomechanics. So a lot of what I do on a day-to-day basis, I work with athletes and help them solve problems. And a lot of athletes, like football players, track and field athletes. I myself was a collegiate athlete, so for me, that kind of helps me when I, look at film and kind of dive in and dissect what some of these prospects are doing movement-wise, and kind of break down what that kind of means for the NFL stock. There's guys even, in the next class that are extremely good movers, and they're going to move up and down boards because of that, and have their stock trending up or down. We saw that this year in the NFL draft too. But AngeloAnalysis.com is essentially just breaking down prospects and dissecting them pretty in depth, and kind of giving you like an all-encompassing look at what does this prospect look like in comparison to the rest of the league. I mean, people kind of forget, I think, sometimes about NFL athletes is this is the 1% of the 1% of athletes, right? Yep. We talk about, okay, so-and-so is slow, so you know what I mean? Like, so-and-so doesn't have enough burst. These guys are, like, you talk about guys are slow. It's like these guys are like 5'10", 5'11", 225 pounds, and still running in like the 4.5, 4.6 range, which is unbelievable. I mean, that means you're running like over 20 and a half miles an hour, at 220 pounds. That's ridiculous, right? So what separates the average NFL athlete from the elite NFL athletes? And that's kind of the stuff I dive into on AngeloAnalysis.com as well as my Twitter page.
All right, yeah, good stuff. And so I said I had a funny story about the last time you were on. So usually what I do if I had a guest on previous is I go back and listen to the podcast, where I last had them on. And I'm searching on my podcast feed, and I can't find it. I'm getting so frustrated. I'm like, where is this podcast? I know he was on. And then it dawned on me that you were actually on when I was in quarantine. I was stuck in my bedroom, and I had to podcast from my iPad. So I actually don't have the audio for that one. It was just that one night. Sort of a lost episode, so I couldn't find anything that we had talked about in the past. I remember you being a Chicago Bears fan. That's the only thing I really remember. I remember talking about rookies a little bit. It was in the summertime, so I was getting so frustrated not being able to find that podcast. I'm like, I know it is here somewhere. But yeah, good stuff, man. I mean, I love following you on Twitter. You do some great breakdowns. You do those long strings where you break down the film, tweet by tweet. So it's a great way to break it down. So guys, definitely give him a follow at Angelo_fantasy on Twitter. You definitely won't be disappointed. All right, let's just jump right into the news and notes.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, news and notes, as always, is brought to you by Society Socks. Bold socks with a social cause. For every pair of socks you purchase, a pair is given to charity. Visit mysocietysocks.com/armchair. Use our promo code armchair and get 50% off your first month's subscription. All right, so we got a lot to talk about tonight, and a lot of it has to do with my team, unfortunately. We've got some serious bad luck. Ryan, we haven't heard from you in a while. Let's just talk about the two injuries first before we get into all the COVID stuff. But George Kittle out for 8 weeks, basically out for the rest of the fantasy regular season. Jimmy G, I think I heard now that he was originally out 6 weeks, but he might get the surgery and be out for the entire season. Talk about what that does for any of those skill players there, and do you want to touch anything on this 49ers offense now?
I mean, tight end wise, if you have Kittle on your team, chances are you're now streaming tight end, and you're playing matchups the rest of the year, which really sucks. I mean, is Jordan Reed even healthy?
He's expected to be healthy this week, but he's still limited in practice, so who knows?
He's healthy for Jordan Reed.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So, I mean, he's had some value when he's been healthy and he's played. So that's there, I guess, for the matchups, but there's really no one there to catch the ball other than not Debo.
Debo's out.
Debo's out. Ayuk's out now, too.
Yep, Ayuk is
cut
out.
your best receiver, Dante Pettis.
Yeah.
It's bad. I was going to say Nick Mullins' service. Well, he's played well when he's been in there, but he's literally thrown to the bad news bears of football right now. So I'm not feeling real confident about anything in that offense.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and tie in some of that COVID-related news that we had, Angelo. Let's talk about Kendrick Bourne, of course. He's our third or fourth string receiver. He's out with COVID. Ayuk is now out with COVID. Debo's out with the injury. I mean, honestly, we're getting down to people that I don't even know the names of right now. I'm like, who the hell are we playing? I know Trent Taylor's probably the next man up. He's probably our number one going into this weekend.
Kevin White, former Chicago Bear great, Kevin White. I think your starting two receivers tomorrow are going to be Kevin White and Trent Taylor.
Ugh, that's just ugly. It's so ugly.
Yeah.
I don't want that in fantasy, man.
Oh
Yeah.
my God!
This organization is just dead from that perspective.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's brutal.
It is totally brutal right now. I agree 100%. Yeah, so, obviously, as far as the fantasy goes, I mean, if you were able to, I don't even know, if you got Nick Mullins in a sleeper flex, maybe you're playing him. The tight end, if it's not Jordan Reed, it's Ross Dwelly, who's done semi-decent in the past. He's not athletic at all, but he's sort of a catch-it-and-fall-down kind of tight end, but he can catch it, so there is that. The receivers, I don't want nothing to do with Trent Taylor. I mean, he's a slot receiver now. He's going to be probably playing on the outside. He's going to be out of his element. And, the Packers have some issues too, but most of it seems to be on their offense, and that defense is pretty solid. So avoid at all costs.
Right.
All right, speaking of that Packers side of things, Jamal Williams, of course, is in COVID quarantine, as well as A.J. Dillon, I think, was the original. He was like patient zero. But they're going to be starting a couple other running backs in the backfield there. Is that going to affect them as far as their passing game? Do you think that they're going to just kind of let those running backs do whatever they want to do and just shut down or attempt to shut down Devontae Adams, Angelo?
I mean, honestly, I think this might be a Rodgers like 45+ attempt game. However, I don't know, how the Niners are going to score. They're missing. This is literally like I was talking to my buddies tonight, and they're like, "This is literally their third string offense. This is a fourth preseason game.
Yeah, exactly.
Offense for the 49ers right now. So I don't know how they move the ball, but I mean, it's going to be one of those where I think the Packers kind of come out guns blazing and try to rip it down the field. But I mean, this might be a 21-point game. You know what I mean? So I just don't know how the Niners are going to score. But I mean, you got to feel good about Rodgers and Adams with no Aaron Jones, presumably. All their other running backs are on the COVID list. Jamal Williams, A.J. Dillon. So they're going to have to throw the ball to probably get down the field. There's a reason that they replaced Dexter Williams with A.J. Dillon in the draft is, they don't see Dexter Williams as in their plans for the future. So I'm optimistic if I have if I have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, but this game could be over pretty quickly, and that's the only thing I'm skeptical on is, if it does get out of hand pretty quick, do they let like Irvin and Williams, get a bulk of the touches and kind of see what they have?
Right.
We don't have the answers to that, but that's kind of my only concern with the Packers tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The only other thing that could possibly happen is they delay this game, which maybe they push it till Sunday and you still get to play it this weekend. But there's a possibility it gets delayed completely because if we keep having positive tests come up, they'll just push it to a different week. So that's definitely a possibility. All right, let's move to a quarterback that's expected to miss Week 9 for different reasons. Gardner Minshew expected to miss 9. Ryan, we'll go to you first on the Gardner Minshew news. What do you think of this? Does this mean anything for fantasy? You're on mute, Ryan.
That was weird. I muted by touching my keyboard. I don't know how I did that. But yeah, I think it hurts the receivers' minds a little bit because he was vibing with Chenault. They looked like they had a nice combination together. He's had rapport with Shark. And Keelan Cole's come on a little bit. Like, we don't know what's going to be there for those receivers this year, who they're going to go to. We could see a lot more out of that running game, James Robinson, which I'm kind of hoping for. But I think it's kind of a knock for that offense to lose him because it may not have been superstar or something they're really confident in, but he at least gave you fantasy value at multiple positions.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I think it's going to be a little scary if you own one of those skill players.
Right.
All right, we're going to go over to the NFC North, which is Angelo's division, but we're going to talk about the Lions a little bit. They got some issues too. Kenny Golladay was already ruled out with an injury. We found out today that Matthew Stafford is now on the COVID list, so who knows if he plays this weekend. Is there any receiver outside of like maybe Marvin Jones that you're interested in this offense, especially if Matthew Stafford's actually out too, Angelo?
I mean, if Stafford's out, unless I'm desperate, Quintez Cephas. If I'm desperate, maybe Cephas. Amendola is interesting, right? I think from a PPR perspective, he might have a solid 9-10 point floor in that game. With Chase Daniel at the helm, I don't think they're going to push the ball down the field. Marvin Jones is going to be pretty tricky because, he makes his money on vertical targets, right? So that's going to be a little more difficult. Cephas might be interesting too because, earlier on in the season, he played really, really well. I liked him coming out of Wisconsin. Big body, good routes. But Amendola is probably the play, I would say, in terms of just getting a nice PPR floor. If you're desperate for a flex, he could get you, like 8 to 12 points, maybe he sneaks in the end zone. But that offense is going to be that's going to be hurting this week. DeAndre Swift might see an uptick too. They've been using him all over the field, which has been great for them. Great for Swift's potential future value. In the interim, he's not seeing the field nearly enough, and we talked about this before the show started. Swift's a guy right now that he's the more talented player than Adrian Peterson, right? We kind of all can see that. We know that. The reason they drafted him so high. But Adrian Peterson to Patricia is the more consistent, reliable option, as you will. Yeah,
the boring option that we don't want to see in fantasy.
Exactly. We don't want to think of it, but there's a reason Alfred Morris got carries in the Giants game.
Yeah, it's
you know what I mean?
It's ridiculous.
That type of stuff is ridiculous, and it drives you nuts. And I can see where NFL coaches are going with it, but guys like Swift need maturation. They did not get a preseason. They got basically a condensed training camp. Those type of guys, in my opinion, from like a player evaluation standpoint and doing that as a career, those guys need to be on the field to learn. And that's the biggest thing. If they're not in the field, they cannot learn. Practices and game speed are vastly
totally
different things, especially when you're talking about a guy making a leap from Georgia to the NFL. Your processing differences there are massive, and we've seen that with Jonathan Taylor and his struggles this year. None of that's physical. That's all from a mental processing standpoint, a cognitive standpoint. Yep. And the same thing with Swift is they want Swift to grow as a rusher. They're going to need to get him repetitions and do it now.
Yeah.
It doesn't do them any good to trot him out as a starter day one next year without another half a season to develop. He's going to be a half a season behind if that's the case. And you want a guy like that to be a half a season ahead, kind of like what the Eagles did to Miles Sanders last year, even though Jordan Howard went down. Them giving Miles Sanders that type of work really kind of elevated his ceiling early on in his career when he's healthy.
Yep, I agree 100%. And going back to your Quintus Cephas, people are like, oh, it's Marvin Hall, because he had a good game last week when Galladay was out.
Sure.
But Cephas was actually inactive for that game because he doesn't play special teams. So I think this week Cephas will be active. I think he had 13 or 14 targets in those first two games when they had Galladay out. So I think Cephas is definitely a sneaky ad. If for some reason he slid past your waivers and Stafford does play, I think Cephas is definitely a viable option, especially with all the injuries and COVID things that we got going on right now. People are desperate right now, so Cephas is somebody to start. All right, I think that's it for the notes that we have right now. I just want to plug really quick our new DFS charity contest. It's going to be played on DraftKings. It is to fight against addiction. Some of y'all may or may not know, but I lost my brother-in-law last year around this time. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of his death. Unfortunately, he overdosed on heroin. And so I'm trying to have a little charity contest. I jumped out to a good start. We started promoting it at the end of October. We're already up to, I think, $425 raised. So we're hoping to get to 500. So I think we'll definitely hit that goal, and then we'll probably have to increase it after that. But it's free to join. Donations are optional. You just go to goingfor2.com/fight to sign up. It's ask for your email and your draft. I can keep track of everybody, whoever wins. I'm going to give a trophy to. We're going to get one made special for the contest, and whoever wins gets the trophy. Like I said, donations are optional, guys, but even if it's $5, if you want to just throw $5 in there, there's a GoFundMe link. So please do that. All right, let's get to these game previews.
This week's game-by-game previews.
All right, so I mentioned at the top that we kind of changed the format a little bit with it being after the half of the year now. I think we pretty much know who we're starting and who we're not starting, so to go game by game seemed a little bit redundant. So we'll actually go through a couple games that actually have some really good storylines, and we'll kind of all talk about them as a featured game. I think I got 6 games this week listed. But at the top here, the teams that are on bye this week, we have the Rams, the Bengals, the Eagles, and the Browns are all on bye. And we're going to talk about that first game there, the Packers and 49ers, assuming that this one is going to be played. And Ryan, I'm going to go to you first.
It's time for this or that.
Looks like it's going to be Tyler Ervin or Dexter Williams. If you had to start one of these two guys, Ryan, this week, which one are you taking?
Dude, this is gross. I'm sorry. I didn't even know who Tyler Ervin was before that. He's been in the league for 6 years. My man has 10 attempts and 4 receptions in 6 years of play.
Wow.
It's not good. And then you got a whopping 5 carries for Dexter Williams in his career. I'm going with Dexter Williams just for the fact that they did draft him. I know you kind of mentioned that they obviously took his replacement this year, but he's still on the roster, and he was there in the pecking order first. So I'm going to go with him. But Tyler Ervin does have a pretty good athletic profile. He was real bursty, has some speed to him, but I don't want either of them. Can I just ask?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Dexter Williams, but I don't. I don't want any of it. There's
definitely some deep league ramifications here because, I'm in a few deep leagues, and you got to have some of these guys you just going to have to start this week. I know in our 20-team Riders League, I think that both these guys were already owned, if you can believe that. That's how deep that league is.
Someone 8-0 in that league.
What was that?
On the show. Someone on this show is 8-0 in that league, but we'll leave that for another day.
Yes, we'll leave that for another day. But yeah, I think I'm with you on Dexter Williams just because I think if they get down to like a first and goal on the 1 or second and goal on the 1, he's the one that's going to be in there. He's the bigger back. I think he can fall into the end zone and get you some points there. But Irvin gives you a little bit of PPR upside, I guess. But I don't know if Rodgers is kind of finicky. He likes the guys that he likes. He's not going to throw to you if he doesn't know you that well. So Irvin probably hasn't got too many reps with Rodgers before. So I think that Williams is probably the guy I'm going to go with there. All right, Angelo, on the other side, a very similar question.
It's time for this or that.
Sticking with the running back theme, you got 2 running backs for the 49ers, JaMychal Hasty or Jerick McKinnon. Which one do you rather start this week?
Oh, man, I think I'm going Hasty here. I think between the two, I think Hasty offers the better blend of runner-receiver. I think we know what McKinnon is right now. He's going to be your pass-catching back, your third down back, your James White, if you will. I think Hasty offers a little bit more upside than McKinnon does. I think, between the 20s, I think those carries go to Hasty. In a game where I think they're going to want to run the ball as much as they possibly can, I think Hasty has a better bet of getting 15-plus touches, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think with the comments that we've heard Shanahan make about McKinnon and his health, he's had a serious injury. I know rehabbing from him was extremely difficult. And they're kind of saying he has, tired legs, or he's onset of fatigue. I mean, if that's the case, I don't really see McKinnon eclipsing 12 touches or so, right?
Yeah.
And I think Hasty's touch ceiling is much higher. They're going to want to see what they even have in Hasty, too, before investing in the position next year, potentially.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Mostert's approaching 30 years old. Coleman's not it anymore. They're going to want to see what they have in Hasty. He was looked great in limited action this year. I know he had a fumble in the Seahawks game and only averaged 2.5 yards a carry. But before that game, he was averaging over around 5.5 an attempt.
Yep.
I'm not a big yards per carry guy, but looking at the guy, watching him move, watching him run, he's your typical Shanahan back. Great in outside zone, extremely good at reading upfield cuts, and great during early acceleration and can catch the ball in the backfield. Right? He kind of meets those prerequisite requirements of what Kyle Shanahan looks for in a back, and in my opinion, this is the game where Kyle Shanahan can kind of sit back and look, hey, either this is a guy that we're going to keep in the pecking order for next year, or we're going to have to go somewhere else and draft a guy potentially, mid-late first round, like a guy like Travis Etienne. You know, Etienne is probably the best fit for that offense.
Yeah.
In my opinion of what they like to do, how they like to run the ball. It would be fantastic in Shanahan's system. But before that happens, I think Shanahan's going to take a long, hard look at Hasty and see what he has. So, I mean, I'm taking Hasty tomorrow. I'm starting him probably wherever I have him, unless I have really good options that I feel good about. But in some of my deeper dynasty leagues where, I've been toasted with injuries like everybody out there and COVID
Right.
and everything.
Yep.
Man, I mean, you might not have a choice but to fire up Hasty for the upside and sit back and enjoy the potential fireworks, or you get a dud. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think Hasty's in for a larger workload than he normally would be with Coleman out and the rest of the backs being either, Wilson and all those guys, Ayuk and on the COVID and Samuel and Kittle, and there's not much else left.
It's brutal.
So
it's brutal.
I think they're going to look for Hasty to make some plays early and kind of see how it goes from there.
Yeah, I think I'm with you as well. I think it's Hasty for me as well because, I mean, it's obvious at this point now we're not going to be repeating. We're not going back to Super Bowl this year. We're not probably even going to make the playoffs. We're playing for next year at this point. Might as well see what we have in Hasty and see if he's going to be worth it or not. Just ride him, and he's young. Ride him and see what we can get out of him. All right, let's pick this game, Ryan. Is anybody taking the 49ers? Going once, going twice.
Nope.
Not even me. If I'm, me and Ryan got a competition going on, and I want to win. I'm taking the Packers as well. The wife's a Packers fan, so I'll take the Packers.
Oh, okay.
All right. We got to move quickly through these rest of these games here because we're running against the clock a little bit. But we're going to go to the Ravens and the Colts, and this is going to be our prop bet of the week.
BUSR.com. Prop bet of the week.
All right, the prop bet of the week. Of course, the big story last week was Jonathan Taylor not getting any touches, and Jordan Wilkins kind of just looked so much better on the field than he did. But over under this week, Ryan, Jordan Wilkins 15 touches.
I'm going to go the under. I think that was kind of an anomaly, and I think it was a lot due to their game plan. I mean, the Colts kind of came in there, dominated the Lions from the start. Why risk having your star rookie running back in there to take carries late in the game where they're just running out the clock with Jordan Wilkins? I think it's a flop. It's not going to be a game like that. The Ravens have a good run defense, and they're going to have Jonathan Taylor there. I mean, the Ravens have a good run defense if they pass the COVID. They have 5 linebackers out, and they're starting safety. But, it was a game plan thing. He's not there to be their lead back. We're not going to see that again, probably. So I'm going to say under.
All right, what about you, Angelo? Over under Jordan Wilkins 15 touches. What are you taking?
Oh, man. I mean, I think it might be a push, honestly. But I think just under. But I think it's one of those where you got to be really patient with Jonathan Taylor. I mean, physically, he has one of the most impressive skill sets of the last decade at that position. But the one thing you can't ever predict is how quickly these NFL athletes are going to process and slow down the game. Taylor's having a lot of trouble slowing down the game, and them giving Wilkins touches has nothing to do with him having superior physical traits to Taylor, because he simply does not. Not many backs do. But right now, can you say that Jonathan Taylor gives the Colts a better chance of winning than Jordan Wilkins? You can't. Physically, he's more talented than him, but Wilkins is a professional running back, right? He's been in the league for a bit. He's, you're middle of the road, but he can get it done, right? I liked him coming out of Ole Miss too. He's not a bad running back whatsoever, but it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of go to a 3-back committee from here on, with Wilkins working in Taylor. And then I think Nyheim Hines has kind of cemented himself as one of the better receiving backs in the league.
Yep.
So I think that really hurts Taylor's immediate value is, as a receiver, Nyheim Hines is far, far superior. And Nyheim Hines, like I said, I think he's one of the better receiving backs in the league who doesn't get enough credit for what he can do. He had a nice 2-touchdown performance. So I think we do see the arrow pointing up there. But it wouldn't shock me if we see the just under, or potentially Wilkins seeing 15 to 18 touches, especially with Frank Wright coming out and saying that Jonathan Taylor's battling not a serious but a minor ankle issue. So
yeah,
I don't know, we'll see. But that's the backfield I'm definitely watching.
All right, good stuff. And real quick, Ryan, I'm gonna go to you into these next 2 questions. Just quickly answer these. Marquise Brown, had a tweet that he put out. He deleted it immediately. Something about if you've got soldiers, why don't you use them? Basically implying that he only had, I think, 2 targets last week. One of them was a touchdown, but still only had 2 targets. So answer that question. And then also we had a question earlier in the show as well. But is it finally Dobbins' season?
So with Hollywood Brown, I think he's been the best player. I've said that. I love him, but I think he gets 1,000 yards for you in a year. It's the same way that Brandon Cooks gets it for you. Yeah. Like multiple catches, like a couple catches a week, big play, get it from there. He's not profiled as a wide receiver 1. I love him, but I think he'll have a good week just for the simple fact that Lamar went and made comments about giving him volume and making sure to get him the ball better. I saw a thing. He's had like 20 deep targets, only 5 catchable this year. Yeah. Like he's just been messed. So I think it's something that needs to come. We might have to be a little more patient than we'd like to with it. It could be a good buy opportunity for a frustrated owner, but it still might need some time. And as for J.K. Dobbins, God, he looked good. His balance is unbelievable. And I'm still not fully there for this season. They gave Gus Edwards a lot of carries. Ingram will be back in a couple weeks. I think we have to be a little bit more patient with it. But once the training wheels are off, man, that offense is his. He looked so good. He looked like the future of their running back position. He looked like he is top 5 running back in the league talent.
Yeah, he definitely did. And I actually called him out on my Friday show on the DFS show and played him in some GPPs this past weekend, and it paid off quite handsomely for me because he was very low owned. People didn't trust that they would use him. Plus, it was against the Steelers, which is one of the best run defenses in the league, so no one wanted to touch him. But he was actually really, really good last week, so that paid off for me. All right, let's pick this game. Ravens at Colts. I know Ryan's going to Ravens. Who you got, Angelo?
Honestly, I got the Colts. I like what they do on defense. I think it might be a gross game, but I think it might be the Colts. Darius Leonard's back healthy. He's one of the best backers in the league, so I think Ravens might have a hard time scoring. If it's not through the air, I mean, the Colts have one of the best run defenses in the NFL, if not the best run defense. So it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be a field position battle. So I'm taking the Colts by 3.
All right, I got the Colts as well. Like I said, that defense is good, and you mentioned the return of that linebacker. He's sort of the heart and soul of that defense, and I think that definitely improves a lot. But they had a little bit of a rough week a few weeks ago with the Bengals, so I do think that this is going to be a Colts defensive week, and the Ravens are going to lose this game. All right, Panthers at Chiefs, and all I want to talk about here, guys, is CMC. Is he going to be back? Are you plugging him into your lineups? Is he ready to go? What are you doing with CMC, Ryan?
I'm gonna hopefully play him because I don't really have any other options on this team. Like the teams had them, they're all beat up, but I'm excited about it. I don't think we're gonna see a full CMC workload this week. Mike Davis has proved he can play enough that they can at least ease McCaffrey into it. But even on limited touches, he could still put up a massive fantasy performance for you. So I'm okay with him, especially as beat up as teams are. If you can breathe, you can play, and he can do a hell of a lot better than breathe. So I'm cool with it if I know for sure he's playing.
Nice, I like it. So what about you, Angelo? You feel the same way?
Yeah, I think you have to play him with kind of the state of probably all our teams are in.
Yep.
I don't think you might have any other option, but I think for the first couple weeks, Davis will be a little bit more relevant than it'll be rest of the season. I think just let CMC get his legs back underneath him. But here goes this. I've kind of read up on a lot of CMC's trading habits. I've listened to his head trainer speak before. And he probably has one of the most diligent training regimens of all NFL players. You talk about, if you're a basketball fan, LeBron James. Russell Wilson does the same thing with his body, spending millions of dollars a year. CMC's up there as well in terms of how diligently he takes care of himself. And I know he's a player that's getting instructed by the right people where he wouldn't come back on this field unless he's 100% ready to go and contribute. So that makes me feel a little bit better. But I think for the first couple weeks, that they're not gonna compete for an NFC title, right?
Right.
He's the future of their offense. He's who their whole offense revolves around. He's a top 3 back in the NFL. They're probably going to ease him into it because Mike Davis, like you said, Ryan, Mike Davis is an adequate to above adequate NFL running back.
Yeah, you put him in and be comfortable.
Exactly. And that's what they want, right? That they don't need CMC back immediately at less than 100% if he is. So I'm playing CMC because you have to. It's CMC. You can't bench him.
All right, we'll pick this game. Anyone taking the Panthers in this game? I think we're all going Chiefs, right?
Oh. Yep.
All right, Texans as Jags was my next game, but we already talked about Minshew Mania sort of being over and what to do with those skill positions, and we talked about news and notes, so we're going to go ahead and just pick this game. Ryan, so we can save some time here. Texans at Jags. Who do you got?
Texans. Taking Deshaun Watson over whoever the Jags start.
Yeah.
Jake Luton.
Jake Luton. Yeah, I'm going with Deshaun Watson-led team, man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep.
All right, you're going Texans as well, Angelo?
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think you can. It might be a fun game to watch though. That's one thing I will say. It might be a shootout.
Yeah.
Hopefully they get Chenault involved a little bit more. But yeah, I think that game's. I think the Texans will win that game.
Yep, I'm with y'all as well, taking the Texans. Dolphins at Cardinals, and Angelo, I'm gonna go to you first.
It's time for this or that.
Now, when I wrote this one down, one of these guys wasn't limited in practice, which we heard today that he was. Matt Breida or Jordan Howard starting this week. If you had to start one of these two guys with Gaskins out, who do you start?
Oh, man. Floor, give me Howard. Ceiling, give me Breida. Howard's, at this point in his career, he's going to have value when he plays. He's going to get work on the goal line. You know what I mean? And that's kind of... That's how it's kind of going to be going forward with him. Remember John Kuhn?
Yeah,
from the Green Bay Packers.
Green Bay Packers.
Remember him? That may be current Jordan Howard.
Yeah.
In terms of what we're seeing, I'm serious. I don't think he offers that much more value.
Yeah.
Than besides the goal line. Is he a 15 touch back anymore? I don't know.
I don't think so.
What we've seen recently tells me no. Is Breida a 15 touch player? No. So I think they're kind of going to intermix, but I think Breida's going to get the receptions, and has a chance to have bigger games. But Jordan Howard can very well have a line of 4 carries, 3 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns,
that
exactly.
Very well could be his. That could be a possibility. So
He's the oldest 26-year-old back I've ever seen.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. Yeah,
It is
I
crazy.
feel like he's older than Frank Gore sometimes.
Yeah,
and he's
just,
young.
it's pretty crazy, honestly. It's
Yep.
pretty crazy. I love him. I think he's a great back. I mean, I loved him in Chicago. I thought the world of the guy. I do think the world of the guy. But I just think, judging by what we've seen and the injuries he's kind of had, I don't know how much tread is left there for him to be any more than an 8-touch per game guy.
Agreed. All right, Ryan, on the other side of things there, I got a question for you.
What you gonna do? Buy or sell?
Buy or sell Chase Edmonds is a top 15 running back for as long as Kenyon Drake's going to be out. That could be just one game for all we know.
Yeah, I'm selling it. Like, in theory, it sounds great, but we have last week is his most touches in the game with 12. That offense isn't really a running offense. Yes, he'll have some games where he gets targeted a lot, but depending on what they do, he could disappear. That team runs through Kyler Murray. Their rush offense runs through him. Pass goes through him. And it's going to keep Chase Edmonds from getting the ball enough where you can consistently trust him as a top 15 back. If we're put in the terms of buy or sell, he's somebody I'm selling right now because I get value for it because it's not trustworthy. I mean, we've had his most rushing yards have been 58 on the season. He's paired it with some good receiving games, but it's not consistent at all. Like, do I want a 23 rushing? Am I getting a 23 rushing yards, 6 receiving? Or am I getting 58, 87? Because that's back-to-back weeks with him. And I don't trust that at all. And it was Dallas and Seattle, and that doesn't make sense with who that 23-6 game is against.
Yeah.
Like, it's not consistent play. I'm going with the passing game in that offense. I'm selling anything else right now.
All right, good stuff. Let's pick this game. Dolphins at Cardinals. Just real quick, give me who you're going to pick, Angelo.
Cardinals.
Ryan.
Same. Cardinals.
Cardinals as well for me. Last game here, Saints at Bucks, and I just want to talk about Mr. Antonio Brown. It'll be his return. Ryan, what are you expecting from him? And I know you're there in Pittsburgh. Are they still talking about Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh, or are they just kind of giving up on him?
They'll never not talk about Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh. So I think he's going to be limited snaps. I could absolutely see him sneaking a touchdown in, kind of like we saw that premiere with his one game with the Patriots where he had 3 catches, 2 touchdowns, something like that, something crazy. Like, there's a lot of good targets there. I know everybody in the world thinks Mike Evans sucks right now, even though he leads the league in receiving touchdowns.
Yeah.
But Brady has handy at Scotty Miller, who he likes. Gronk's still there. It's going to be really hard for him to carve out a role. And there's rumors of Godwin's starting to come back, too.
Yeah.
Right.
If I go to God AB on free agents here, if I had him on team, I'm selling him now. Like, I don't know. You guys might disagree, but I'm kind of out on that. If I get a value, I will.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think in that Patriots game, if I'm not mistaken, he was on the field for 15 plays and had 7 or 8 targets. It was crazy the amount of uses that he had. It was ridiculous. I don't see that happening in this offense here either. I think he gets a limited usage. Could he catch a touchdown? Sure, why not? I mean, he probably get a touchdown, but I'm not counting on it. If I can avoid playing him this week, I want to see how he fits into the offense first before I play him. What about you, Angelo? What are your thoughts on AB?
I mean, it's one of those situations where you kind of just have to monitor it, and especially if Godwin's out. I mean, man, if you picked him up and you're desperate, play him. This is going to be a really interesting game to watch, too, because the Saints are going to have Michael Thomas back. I think Emmanuel Sanders is returning, too.
Yep.
Obviously, Kamara's back there, too, as well. He's been great all season. But I don't know about AB. If I'm kind of with Ryan, if you have him right now, you're probably going to try to sell him. Remember last year, in one of my leagues, I sold AB straight up for Deontay Johnson, right after he got suspended. Because I'm like, there's no way, even if he comes back, it's going to be a long time. And Deontay Johnson's been, he's been great,
When he's playing, at least.
But when he's playing, so I don't know, man. I mean, I think he's a guy where if you have him and you're desperate, you fire him up and hope for the best unlimited snaps. But if you don't have to play him, I would definitely, like Ryan said, I would look to sell him because I don't think you're going to get a long-term return on him. Even though he's one of the best receivers of this generation, but I don't think long-term it's going to look good for Antonio Brown. Being a wide receiver 3 or better for the next 3 years.
All right,
I think that's going to happen.
Let's pick this game, Ryan. Saints at Bucks. Who you got?
I think we're going to take the Bucks. I swear I say it every week. Their defense looks really good, and they have all these weapons now on offense. I think their team is just clicking at the moment. Saints, we haven't seen Michael Thomas for a while. They're still a little beat up. I heard something about Kamara having a hurt foot, which terrifies me. Hopefully, they said he should play, though, but I think the Bucs are kind of clicking. They're the new hotness at the moment.
Yeah. What about you, Angelo? Who you got?
I got the Bucs too. I think one of the best defenses in the league, even without Vita Vea. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game.
Yeah.
But I think the Bucs. It's gonna be the Bucs, and I do think AB does get in the end zone.
All right.
For what it's worth.
All right. I'm actually taking Saints in this one for a little bit of an upset. I think the Saints are they're getting their guys back. Breeze will be more comfortable there. Kamara, as long as he's healthy, is he's the CMC of last year. He's just, you can't account for him. So I think I'm going to take the Saints in a little bit of a mini upset. I'm sure most people are taking the Bucs right now. All right, we're going to skip the commercial break so that we can get everything in. I did have a stock up, stock down segment that we're hoping to get to, but I do want to get to our rookie draft. So we're going to just skip the stock up, stock down. If we can get to it at the end, we will. But let's get to our rookie draft. Basically, what we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to look at the rookies from the 2020 class and just basically redraft them. We'll do a 2-round mock draft. We'll redraft them for what we know now in their, with their teams and how they've looked in their teams so far this year. So we'll go ahead and get that started.
Attention, everyone. Let's mock draft.
All right, and we're doing this from a Superflex standpoint so that we can include some of the quarterbacks in here. And we always give the guest the 101. So, Angelo, you're up first with the 101. Who you got here?
Oh, man, 101, I still got Joe Burrow, Superflex. I think he's on track to win Rookie of the Year. And I think you can make case top 5 dynasty QB in Superflex. So I'm taking Joe Burrow 101.
Yep, I'm with you. I think Joe Burrow is still the 101 Superflex. Ryan, you got the 102?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised because how much I'm a running back person, but dude, Justin Herbert in Superflex right now he's a budding star. That kid is gonna throw the ball a lot. He has a cannon. He's gonna be these huge games. He's shown not to make dumb decisions, and they've gone all in on trusting him this early, especially with the weapons he has and when they're fully healthy. I love him long term though. I had a thing about him being before that season and Joe Burrow was breaking out. He was right up there with Tua for me. He's a good quarterback, and he's in a great situation for McGraw.
Yeah, I love his moxie too. I mean, when you watch him, you don't think rookie quarterback. I love the fact that he, his first game, he had all of like 5 minutes to prep for the Chiefs, and he came out just throwing the ball over the field. It was fun to watch. So I love that kid.
He's hung around with the big boys, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm up at the 103. I'm looking at Tua, at the quarterback, Superflex. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger, though. I still like CEH here. So I'm going to take CEH in that offense. Mahomes is going to be there for a long time. The offense is going to continue to get better. So give me CEH at the 103. Back to you, Angelo, at the 104.
Awesome. I'm going to actually bypass Tua as well. I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb. I don't know if you and I talked about this before during quarantine, but like each class I kind of go through it and I'm like, all right, who are the potential gold jacket guys in this class? And there's not many. There's like 1 or 2 per class on either side of the ball, maybe. You might get 2 total, 1 total. I think CeeDee Lamb is a gold jacket caliber player.
Nice.
That's how highly I think of CeeDee Lamb. Unfortunately, I think he was wide receiver 14 when Dak was playing, which is awesome for a rookie. That's unbelievable for your first, 6 games. That's huge. But now now I think Cooper Rush is throwing the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't pretty.
Not at all.
Long term, man, I still like CeeDee Lamb, and I think this is the lowest his value will ever be if you're gonna buy some Lamb stock. But I'm all in on Lamb long term, and he's fantastic to watch, and I think he's an awesome talent.
Yep. And I've had a lot of in redraft leagues, dropping CeeDee Lamb, which maybe in redraft leagues it's okay because you're not going to keep him long term. But the fact that they're considered dropping him is how far he's dropping and how far his value is. So yeah, if you can get him in Dynasty right now, buy because he is a beast he's got a good quarterback there. All right, Ryan, you are up at the 105.
I was really hoping you'd leave me CeeDee Lamb. I'm going Jonathan Taylor. I still believe in all that. I believe in the talent. And like you kind of said, it's his vision hasn't come up to his body yet. And adjusting the NFL, it's different, man. And the talent's there. He's definitely capable of being their workhorse back, and nothing's really changed that much. We come in expecting so much for these rookies right away. Just have a little patience. And it's gonna be there. The talent's gonna show.
Yeah,
so I'm going with Jonathan Taylor.
And he's playing behind the best offensive line in football, I think, too. And that eventually will come to fruition when he can actually get an offseason in there and, learn the offense a little bit better. And I think it's going to be it's wheels up for Jonathan Taylor for sure. All right, so you put me in a tough spot here. I thought for sure you'd go Justin Jefferson and leave me Jonathan Taylor. And I love Justin Jefferson, but J.K. Dobbins sitting there, too, is a pretty sweet-looking position with the Ravens. And I usually go running backs in my rookie drafts, but I can't avoid Justin Jefferson here. I think he is just – we talked about CeeDee Lamb and where he was in the rankings. I think at one point Jefferson was up at wide receiver 5 at one point. Had a tough week last week because Dalvin Cook just went bonkers. But Jefferson is my pick here at the 106. Angelo, we're going to you at the 107.
I'm a big Dobbins guy. He was my third ranked running back after evaluations in this class. But I'm going to go with Tua. I think he's the long-term answer in Miami. I absolutely love what Brian Flores is doing. I think he deserves Coach of the Year, honestly. And I think he's going to put talent around him in this class. I fully expect either Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, or Jamar Chase catching passes from Tua next year.
Yeah.
And one of those three guys, I believe, is going to be catching passes from Tua. Obviously, Waddle and Smith played with Tua at Alabama, so those make sense. But I think Jamar Chase is also extremely talented, and they might not be able to pass a guy like him up. Yeah. But I think, Tua's a great talent. He has the intangibles. Great kid, great story. But I think he's going to be a feature of that offense for a long time and under a great coach in Brian Flores.
All right, I love it. Going with Tua there. Ryan, we're at the 108, I think. I think my little sheet here is kind of messed up, but at the 108, Ryan, who you got?
Take J.K. Dobbins on this. He's going to be the feature back in Baltimore in a team that runs the ball more than any team in the NFL. He showed he can catch the ball. He has over 20 receptions now, which is almost more than any running back had the year before for Baltimore. So that's going to become a more of a wrinkle in the offense and something they didn't have an offseason to work with. I think he takes over there and puts up monster fantasy numbers. That's huge potential. And it's crazy he's there at the 108.
Yeah, that is crazy. I love Dobbins, but yeah, the fact that he fell to 108 is ridiculous. 109, I'm up, and I'm going to take the guy that no one was talking about pre-draft, no one at all, and this kid is just, I think at one point, maybe not after this week, but I think the week before, the only running back in the league that had more points than him was Kamara, and that's
Kamara.
Yeah, it's James Robinson, man. I don't know where this kid came from. He wasn't on anybody's list, but he has come in and he's been a beast. I know that team is a little bit in shambles right now, and they're going to have a hard time running the ball with no quarterback there. But Robinson's been doing it. And when you're getting that volume and you're looking like he is, I think you can't really pass him up here at the 109. Going to you, Angelo, with the 110.
Here's where it gets kind of tough. I'm gonna kind of go with what I had pre-draft, and go with Jerry Jeudy. I think what he can do as a route runner and as a technician is, it's seldom. I mean, he's a very unique NFL talent, and I think as he grows and develops, he's going to be an absolute monster in that Denver offense for years to come with him and Courtland Sutton. I think that's a perfect marriage when Courtland Sutton gets healthy. I don't know if Drew Lock's going to be the quarterback there next year. That's an interesting storyline to watch. I don't know if he's it for them, but even if he isn't, I think Jerry Jeudy steps up and potentially posts his first 1,000-yard season in his sophomore campaign. But I'm taking Jerry Jeudy there over, DeAndre Swift's probably the next obvious choice, but I'll take Jerry Jeudy there.
All right, Ryan, I have a feeling you're probably going to take Swift here because you love Swift.
Yeah, I am taking the next obvious choice, DeAndre Swift, just like you said. We've seen when he's gotten volume in that offense that he's been electric. He's big play potential. He's a fantastic receiving back. He doesn't need 20-plus carries to have a fantasy impact. If we ever see Patricia go, which we were talking about before the show, because he just hates young players and hates giving volume to one running back. But he's such a talent, man. And he has a role. His minimum role is that receiving back, which gives you a nice floor. But he has that upside when he gets carries to just explode. So Swift.
All right, I like it.
I like it.
So I'm looking at a couple players here on the board that's it's making this decision tough. Of course, we got Chase Claypool, who is coming to his own already. He had a 4-touchdown game a few weeks ago. I'm looking at T. Higgins, who, with Joe Burrow is going to be a lethal combination for a long time. I'm also looking at Antonio Gibson. I loved him coming into the draft, and I think that's who I'm going to take here is Antonio Gibson. I think, he's getting limited touches in this Washington football team offense, and he's doing some good things with it. I think we saw what he can do against Dallas last week. Had his first game where he had over 100 yards, and he looks electric. I mean, he in the open field, I think he at one point, I could be wrong in this sense, but he makes the first guy miss more than any runner back in the league right now, and that's a pretty good thing to have for a running back. You make that first guy miss, you can make some big plays. So give me Antonio Gibson here at the 112. So I'm gonna get the 201 as we come back to me, and I will take T. Higgins with the. I'm sorry, we're going back to Angelo for the 201. I forgot this is rookie draft, so we go back.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah,
you're good.
Angelo, you get the 201.
Awesome. Well, I'm actually going to take Laviska Shenault Jr. I was extremely high on him coming out, and I think he's had a really impressive start to his career in Jacksonville. I don't think the targets and touches haven't been as consistent as we would have liked, but he's been really good with the ball in his hands. I think he's actually leading all receivers in broken tackles, which is it's an interesting metric, but that's what he was in college, right? And a yak monster, as they say. But I think his role is going to grow as the season goes on. His snap percentage has gone up, and now it's in the 70s. It was in the 40s and 50s to start the year, which is a good sign for him. I'm just a big fan about what he can really do. He's been healthy, which has been awesome. And that was his biggest demerit coming out of Colorado was, can he stay healthy? And he has, and he's been super fun to watch so far when he's been on the field, and he's done a great job for that Jacksonville offense, who's going to play from behind a lot this season. So we're probably going to see a lot more Shenault going forward, and he's a guy I definitely want on all my dynasty teams if you can buy low on him.
All right. Ryan, you get the 202.
Yeah, T. Higgins ain't making it to you. I'll take T. Higgins here. He has really shined there. I'm a big fan of when you have a young quarterback and a young receiver coming up together and learn together. And Higgins has been a target monster since week 3. He's only had one game under 7 targets. He has that rapport with Burrow. They're throwing the ball a lot. Their defense isn't going to get that good over the next couple of years. They have a lot to grow there. And they're just slinging the ball around. And he's going to be their number 1 receiver. A.J. Green is on his last leg. Boyd has his role in the slot where he can get that volume. But Higgins is the red zone threat. He's their legit number 1. He profiled as it. And he only has up to get. The ceiling's the floor for him. He's going up, man. So he's one of my top buys right now if you can get him, but I doubt you can.
All right, I love that pick there. Obviously, I would have taken him if I could have. I'm gonna go a little bit off the rails here and take a guy that's been slipping. I mean, he went, I think, top 5, top 6 in most rookie drafts this past year, and the Rams have just killed his value. But I think we saw a little bit of his electric ability with Henderson out last week. So give me Cam Akers at the what are we at? The 10 or the 203. I'll take Cam Akers, and we're gonna speed this up a little bit, guys. If you could just give me your pick and give me like a one-line analysis. 204, Angelo.
Me, Brandon Ayuk. You guys are Niners fans, right? So, for me, man,
Whoa.
I am. Ryan's a Ravens fan.
yeah. I'm sorry. My bad. Oh man. But for me, man, I like Ayuk. I like him coming out of Arizona State. I think his role is only going to grow because it has to, right? There's no Debo, no Kittle, no Jimmy G, man. Yep. I think the kid's a true 3-level threat. So, for me, I'll take Ayuk there.
All right. 205, Ryan.
I'm going to go with, I'm sure a little different. I'm going to go with Henry Ruggs. I think I'm a sucker for the fast receivers. And he has that big play potential in every game. But he's somebody who definitely who's getting more involved in the offense. He has their chance of being number 1 or 2 there. And I don't know how long we'll see Carr. If they get somewhere where they spread that offense out more and they take more shots, he could be huge.
All right. I'm going to take Mr. Jalen Reagor. I was kind of torn between him and Chase Claypool, but I think Reagor has the younger quarterback. Who knows how long Big Ben will be there. So give me Jalen Reagor as a big play receiver. All right. 207, Angelo.
This is an interesting one for me because I'm kind of just, pre-draft is a guy I was really high on. He hasn't played much this year, but Bryan Edwards. I think he's the future number 1 in that Raiders offense who has been throwing the ball much more. Derek Carr's looked pretty good. So, I mean, I'm taking Edwards. I think when he does hit the field, I think his stock's going to go way, way up. But if he can stay healthy, I think he's the future of that receiving core.
All right. 208, Ryan.
I'm going to take Chase Claypool now. A lot of the same reasons about Ruggs. I just think he has a less clear picture to be a week-to-week volume guy with the Steelers spread the ball around the way they do and everybody be kind of young in that offense. So taking Chase Claypool here, he has a ton of upside, and he has game-winning or week-winning potential every time.
All right. I love it. 209. I'm going to take a guy that I was high on. Drafted him in my rookie drafts, and no one really knew who this kid was. And he's really shined, in limited time for the Bears. And Mr. Darnell Mooney, I got him in my dynasty league. I think Foles has missed him on, I think it's like 6 or 7 deep balls.
Let's not talk about it. But yeah, something like that.
I mean, yeah, he hits those deep balls. Mooney's stock is way, way high right now. So I love Mooney going forward. He seems to be the real deal.
I do too.
All right, 210.
I'm going to go a little kind of off the wall on Jalen Hurts. I don't know if Carson Wentz is the answer there long term. And I think Jalen Hurts gets an opportunity maybe even sooner than we think. I don't know. I had a good feeling about Hurts coming out of college. I like him a lot. And in Superflex, I mean, hitting on quarterbacks is a big deal. Especially at this part, I think if you're in the late second round of a draft and you can get a potential QB2, I think that's huge. So I'm gonna go with Jalen Hurts and hope he gets a shot. I'm a big Carson Wentz fan too, so it's kind of interesting. But I think Hurts gets a shot.
All right,
for sure.
Going
Ryan.
Denzel Mims. He was somebody going in late first of rookie drafts. And he really hasn't done anything wrong. He just got hurt. But he's been back 2 games. He's had 40 yards in both. They've taken shots with him. And having 40 yards in Adam Gase offense is like 150-yard games.
Yeah.
Like
that's what equals. There's a math to that.
Yeah. There's a math. It's science. But no, like the potential's there. His talent didn't go away. That offense can only go up if they actually are smart enough to get rid of Gase, which I hope so. But the talent's there. Darnold likes to take deep shots. He's very good at it, and he's getting shots his way already. So, yeah, I want to see him get the ball more, and I think he has potential to.
All right. And I'm going to close it out here at the 212, and I got a couple options. I'm looking at Zach Moss that I like. I like Josh Kelly, Van Jefferson, JaMychal Hasty still there, Duvernay. I think I'm going to go with Zach Moss. Last week he showed me that he can actually get it done. You know, he had some injury issues early in the season, but I think Singletary Singletary's been okay. Zach Moss looked really good. So I'll take Zach Moss here at the bottom of the second round. A running back that late that could be the number one there is definitely a good value for me. All right, we got a couple listener questions to get to really quick, guys, and then we'll get into our Forgotten Fantasy Player. We'll take these one at a time. So Ryan from Bill Lillian at B Lillian on Twitter. He wants to know, would you give up Zeke and Tua to receive Kyler and Nick Chubb in a full PPR redraft? That's a very important part of it, redraft. He says he already has Josh Allen. So Zeke and Tua to receive Kyler and Chubb. Would you do it?
Honestly, no. Well, no, because Zeke's healthy, and this is redraft. There's no specification on Superflex.
No, it doesn't say nothing about Superflex.
Either way, I'm going to take the Zeke side because, yes, I know he's looked bad the last couple weeks, but he's starting running back. They're bound to give him more volume with that situation at quarterback. Two was actually starting, so you can play him in Superflex if need be. And Chubb's hurt until further notice, so I'm going with guys who are healthy, especially at this point of the year. I'm not trusting anything with injuries.
All right. Heather on Facebook's got two questions, so I'll ask you the first one, then I ask Ryan the next one, Angelo. Tom Brady versus the Saints this week, or Justin Herbert versus the Raiders?
Oh, man. 6 point per touchdown or 4?
Doesn't say. Well, I'll assume 6 because I know Heather. I think she probably plays it mostly 6 point per touchdown.
Oh, man. I'm gonna go Brady. I think it's close. I think at 4 point I would take Herbert though. Just I think that rushing floor is really nice with him too.
Yeah.
I think he's a lot more athletic than he's given credit for. I think it's a you can go either one, and I don't think you're going to be hurting at all. I think both are great options. But I think that Bucs Saints game might be a little more high scoring too.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That for me is kind of the deal breaker.
All right. Also from Heather Ryan, full PPR Deontay Johnson versus the Cowboys, or Zeke versus the number one defense, the Steelers.
Okay, so I know the Cowboys are just a juicy matchup for them, but kind of like I said earlier, Chase Claypool, the Steelers are super inconsistent on who's getting the ball. On a week-to-week basis, you don't know if it's going to be Deontay, it's going to be Juju, it's going to be Claypool. It's all just who's open there. And Zeke's getting volume. Like, it's guaranteed. The Steelers just got gouged last week for 245 rushing yards. I know it's been really good this year against most teams in the run, and I'm sure they'll still crank it down. He's not going to have anything near that, but it's still a lot safer floor, and Zeke has that red zone potential at any time.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I think that it's kind of funny because it is very matchup there. You know, Zeke has probably the worst matchup that he can have as a running back. Deontay he has the best matchup that he can have as against the Cowboys. So it is very tough to pick that one there, but I think it is Zeke. All right, this last one here is from Eagle Dan, and he wants to know which of these receivers rest of season do you prefer? He's got 5 guys listed here, so try to listen close here. Keelan Cole, Cole Hardman, Darnell Mooney, Isaiah Ford, or Randall Cobb rest of season. Who you got, Angelo?
Oh, gosh. I don't know if we don't really know when Isaiah Ford's going to play or what he's going to be.
Right.
But I'm going to go Randall Cobb.
Wow.
I think for a floor, the Texans are going to be throwing a lot. They're going to be behind a ton going forward, I think. I mean, none of those are great options.
Yeah.
I I would have said if Gardner Minshew was starting rest of season, Keelan Cole's a great option.
Yep.
They're behind a ton, throw a lot. He's been really good in the slot. But yeah, I'm gonna go Randall Cobb. Hardman's. I mean, I don't know what he's ever gonna be. Ford, we don't know what he's gonna. He's something he's gonna be with the Patriots. I mean, presumably he's gonna jump into a starting role with that receiving core pretty banged up.
Yep.
But I would go Cobb there.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm with you now that I look at it because I'm looking at this. You know, I know it's a redraft league. I don't play a lot of redraft leagues. I'm looking at this from a dynasty perspective, and I'm like Randall Cobb, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess consistency wise, I mean, because Keelan Cole, you know, lost his quarterback. McCole Hardman, you know, he has that one big game, then he disappears the next game. Darnell Mooney still has Nick Foles throwing the ball. Isaiah Ford is on a new team with Cam Newton throwing the ball. It hasn't looked very good. So yeah, Randall Cobb is the one guy that I think that has a consistent role. That gives you that PPR upside, you know. So yeah, it's Randall Cobb for me as well, even though I didn't think so originally when I looked at it. So I like that. All right, guys, it's time for the Forgotten Fantasy Player.
Get ready for GoingFor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, Angelo, who do you have for your Forgotten Fantasy Player this week?
And Blake Bortles in 2015.
Wow, I love it.
I mean, holy cow. If you had Blake Bortles in 2015 and you were in the fantasy playoffs, you probably won your league, right? I mean, I looked it up because I was curious. I'm like, man, like I just remember that. He had 10 touchdowns in that 3-game stretch, and he averaged over 26.4 fantasy points a game in 4-point, I believe. So imagine having him in 6-point. And just watching every week in awe. I mean, it was just unbelievable to watch him.
Yep.
And that was like, if that peak was his whole career, that'd be something. But the peak and then everything else was not it. But no, I mean that was a crazy time. Like he won so many people leagues.
Yep.
Just because he was QB1 in the fantasy playoffs.
Yep.
And it was Blake Bortles. So I mean that was pretty crazy.
I love it. And actually, so my league, I have had a redraft league since '98, and it's still going to this day.
Okay. Awesome.
But actually, in 2016 was the first year we turned it into a dynasty. Coming out of that 2015 season, I drafted Allen Robinson and Blake Bortles. I thought I was set. I was like, I am set. I got the quarterback and the receiver combo. Of course, Robinson gets hurt. He's out for the year. Bortles turns back into a pumpkin, and I'm screwed. So, yeah, that was a crazy year for sure. All right, let's go around the room really quick and give us your Twitter handle where we can follow you and anything you want to plug. Angelo, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, first, thank you guys for having me on, man. It was a blast. I appreciate it. Ryan, I'm sorry about for sticking you for a Niners fan.
It's okay.
Not bad. I mean,
it could have been worse.
I mean, you could be a Jets fan. I mean, You could very well be a Jets fan, or you could be me as a Bears fan who has to watch that offense play 60 minutes of football every week too. So that's definitely not fun as well. But you guys can find me on Angelo FF on Twitter, at Angelo_fantasy. And then on my website at angeloanalysis.com. Just kind of, right now I'm wrapping up some Devy stuff, doing my Devy Who's Next series. Journey Brown's next in that one. The Penn State back, like him a lot. But yeah, man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Definitely. We need to get you back on when we do all of our rookie preps, in the off season for sure.
Absolutely.
Ryan, what you got going on?
Find me here every Wednesday night. Find me at the Dynasty Draft Room, Dynasty Podcast on Tuesday nights as well. And find me on Twitter at Foss534.
All right. Good stuff, guys. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. I'm here every Wednesday and Friday nights. Once again, guys, check out the DFS charity contest. It's for a great cause. GoingFor2.com/fight. It's free to enter. I mean, literally, there's no obligation to donate. We just, hope that you do. Even if it's $5, it's a DraftKings contest. It's pretty simple to sign up. So go there. Please do that. For Angelo, for Ryan, I'm Jeff, and we will see y'all next week.